Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. We have a special guest with us. She is a best-selling author, a speaker, and America's Money Maven. Please help me welcome Patrice Washington. Patrice, welcome again. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Now, most of your career, we've seen you help America with money, learning what it is, how to use it, how to grow it, how to properly facilitate it. Now you are taking on the mission of redefining wealth. And I think it's remarkable and definitely something that's necessary because this generation has their own idea of what wealth is, and most times it's some tangible or fleeting object that really is not going to matter. But let's get down to brass tacks. What is, traditionally speaking, wealth? How do we define it?
Well, definitely, you already know this. In media, in culture, just in society, when you hear someone mention wealth or someone being wealthy, you automatically think money. You think material possessions. You might think assets and bank accounts and lavish trips and expensive cars. That's what comes up. Even when you look at the definition of wealth, if you Google define wealth, the very first definition which will come up is money, material possessions, assets. But what I started to do, Cornell, was really dig deeper, because for me, I've always known intuitively that wealth was definitely more than just money. And, even with you, I'm sure, having this podcast, you were led to do it, right? It wasn't the money that made you do it. It was something that you felt called to do, you felt led to do, which means that there are things that we do that don't have to surround chasing money, but because we do them, we end up attracting opportunities and finances and other things as well. And so I started to dig deeper. And when you look at the 12th century definition of wealth, when you look at defined wealth and you go all the way down to maybe the 7th or 8th definition, it gets to the root of what the word originally meant. And the word originally meant the condition of well-being or happiness. And you see how we've just totally taken that to be, okay, what, only stuff makes you happy? Like only material possessions make you happy? We know that can't just be the truth. And so with redefining wealth, my mission has changed. It hasn't really changed. I've kind of pivoted a bit to just expand the conversation around money, because when people reach out to me, when they come to me, they think that I'm going to tell them that all their financial issues have something to do with money. But even the last time I was on, I told you building wealth to me has 100% nothing to do with money. It has to do with us and our mindsets towards money. And so with redefining wealth, I wanted to expand upon that and talk about the other areas in life where we need to focus on the well-being in those areas. And when we do that, we put ourselves in position to get the opportunities, create the relationships, attract certain financial success, or, we just put ourselves in position to be our best self. And I believe that being our best self is what helps bring the other stuff to it.
Now, you used the key word, which I want to hone in on, attract. And I know in our last time together, you spoke a lot about the mental aspect of attracting wealth. How does one know when they're not quite ready for wealth? Because a lot of people, we have these big ambitions, and we feel in our own minds, I can do this. But how do you know, when it's like, okay, you're not quite prepared? Because if you get this, you're going to mess it up for, everybody that's depending on you. How do you know when you're not quite ready?
Well, first of all, I love how you put that, because you're right. A lot of us pray for opportunities. We pray for doors to be opened. We pray for financial success. And the reality is, based on how we're running this ship now, if it happened, we would lose it. And I'm sure, because you know my story, I had a successful real estate and mortgage brokerage, 7-figure business by 25, and then I lost it all. And yes, we were in a recession, but in addition to that, I was not mentally prepared for that level of success at that time in my life. And what I mean by that is I didn't have the right relationships in place to support me in that space in my life. You know, you need to have advisors. You need to have coaches. You need to have people who are in alignment with what your goals are for yourself, with what the vision is God gave you. You need to have some things in order to really see that through. And while I was really great at making money, I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't invest in coaching. I didn't really honor the idea of mentoring. I didn't seek out wise counsel or look for guidance either. And so for me, that's how, when I found that scripture, as I was on the bathroom floor, snotting and crying about losing all my money and shutting my business down and being in a foreign city where I had no friends, no family, and was living in a teeny tiny apartment, scraping up change, literally. I was like, dang, God, how did I get here? And the scripture I found was Proverbs 17:16. What good is money in the hands of a fool if they have no desire to seek wisdom? And I think how you know you are not ready, and it typically doesn't happen until after it's passed. If you can be proactive, then wonderful. But typically it's like after it's passed, it's like, wow, I wasn't seeking wisdom. I had been a fool. And I thought that because I had a degree, because I had certifications, because I had this broker's license so young, at 22 years old I was a broker, you know, because I had education, because I had information, because I had knowledge, I thought that was enough, but I didn't have wisdom. And people confuse that. Wisdom is knowing how to apply the knowledge, information, and education you have. It's knowing how to apply it, when to apply it, with whom to apply it with. I didn't have that piece. I knew a lot of stuff. I didn't always know how to really navigate, you know, with it. And so I would say, you know that you're not ready if you know you haven't been making an investment in yourself, in wisdom, in knowing how to apply what information you have. That means you're not reading books on the subject that you believe are important, right? That means that you are not seeking out any type of education. I don't care if it's books. I don't care if it's a seminar. I don't care if it's an online webinar. I don't care if you have to, you know, go to these little boring, sometimes little boring session at the library maybe, where they may give you some stale bagels and old orange juice. That's okay. Well, are you seeking wisdom? Because I believe that every time we put our foot forward to make an attempt to seek wisdom, that it builds the momentum. And what happens is when we get out of our comfort zone, when we get off our couch, when we get out of our apartment or our home or whatever place is comfortable for us, we have to trust that there's a divine appointment when we get there, that there is a divine nugget that will come from whatever. I learn things from my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter, every day. I've learned things from watching, you know, even kids in my family that are even younger than that. And so when you put on this spirit that says, I can learn something from anyone, from everywhere, from every circumstance, and you're open to learning and not thinking that you know it all, then you're ready.
That's the key. I was thinking that because most people feel they know it all.
Yeah, you're not coachable. And the thing is that I always remind myself, Cornell, yeah, I'm confident in what I know, but there is a world of things out there that I know nothing about. There's like to the point where I don't even know what I don't know. So I couldn't even Google it if I wanted to because I don't know what it's called to Google. I don't, you know, there are things you don't know, and you have to have an open heart and a teachable spirit. I tell people all the time, especially when, you know, I'm blessed enough to run into new people that I would love to have mentor me. I tell them, your time and information, your wisdom will not be wasted on me. I am coachable. I am coachable. That doesn't mean that, you know, anything and everything someone says to me, I just take and run with it. I still have to use wisdom and discernment to figure out what is in alignment with who I am and where I am. But I'm coachable. I'm willing to listen.
Now, in one of your teachings, and I want to go here only because I know in our community it's something that's taboo. You talk about knowing when you need possibly therapy. And I think that kind of hit me at a special spot because I've come across quite a few people that I've felt you don't need just church on Sundays. You need somebody Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for about a couple of hours so they can really help you through these issues. So how does therapy or counseling sometimes help individuals with their process or getting to wealth?
Well, in the Redefining Wealth pillars, the very first pillar is called fit. And, you know, a lot of people, they might furrow their brow or get in their feelings because they think I mean just going to the gym and being physically fit. And that is one piece, because I do believe, Cornell, that when God gives you a vision, it's your responsibility to take care of the vessel that's needed to execute that vision. But the vessel is not just the shell of the body alone. It's not just that. It's also that brain in there, that mental fitness, that thing in there that holds on to trauma. That holds deep within it some of the stuff that you've been through that you think because time has passed you have healed from. Not so. Not so at all. And I always tell people that had I not dealt with a lot of the trauma from my childhood, had I not gone and sat on someone's couch and discussed these feelings of unworthiness, these feelings of just people telling me for my family while I was growing up that I was ugly, being teased and bullied. Now they say bullied, right? Being teased back in the day, too tall, too dark, too thin, too legs too big, eyes too wide, all this stuff. Had I not dealt with that, I would be no good today in my career pursuits, because I wouldn't have the self-esteem and the confidence to go after it. Because how can you get on TV and know that at any given moment there might be millions of people who are looking at you and possibly judging you or criticizing you? And you ain't dealt with the fact that you grew up the first darn near 25 years of your life believing you were ugly, right? Like, there's no way that I could be used in media, which I also see as a ministry in a way. There's no way that I could be used in that way had I not dealt with that. And so I tell people, you're looking for wealth? What if you have all the education? What if you have all the information and knowledge, and the reason that you're still stuck is because you ain't dealt with the stuff deep down inside that is keeping you stuck, because you were told some really unsupportive things, or by how people treated you, you learned some really unsupportive things, or by some experiences you had, you made up some stories in your mind about yourself and what you're worthy of and what you're capable of, and because you have a degree now, you think that's enough to move forward. Not so. You got to deal with that stuff. And, I love prayer. I'm a big proponent of prayer. I have a prayer closet. I got a prayer partner. Look, I love prayer. Prayer isn't enough. In my prayer time is when God told me, you need to go talk to somebody. And there have been times when I've had therapists where I was like, nope, he didn't say you. You're not a good fit. Just the first therapist that you find does not have to be the end-all, be-all, right? But I started to open my heart and my mind to understanding you got some stuff you need to deal with. You got some stuff you need to deal with because it's distracting you from being focused on finishing this book. You can't even be quiet and sit in a room still sometimes because you're replaying things from back in the day. Like, you have to go talk to someone about this. You have to go and release this. You have to go and figure out what are the tools and techniques and strategies that I can use. Who do I need to forgive? How do I forgive people who will never say I'm sorry? How do I forgive people who have now passed? And I didn't get to tell them that the things that they said to me truly hurt me and cut me deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I had to do that through therapy. Prayer led me to therapy. I think that there is a need for just about every occupation out there is because somebody needs it. And so I grew up in a culture that says, oh, you just pray about it. That wasn't enough for me. And so I know that helped me get unstuck, and I'm a big proponent. It continues to help me get unstuck. My husband and I stay in some couples therapy. You hear me? Necessary. We've been married 3 years. We did premarital. We did a whole bunch in the beginning, and we always have tune-ups. And because you're always evolving, you're always a work in progress, and you can't always do it on your own, and that's okay. That's why there are professionals out there to serve you.
I'm glad you mentioned the couples thing, because in one of your other teachings, as in Redefining Wealth, you talk about space and protecting your energy and the peace of mind that you have. And I know that is so important. I know that you understand that as well. But for those people out there who may be in a relationship and they're trying to protect their space, but the antagonist is the one that they love, how do they approach that?
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's really good. So here's what I truly believe, because my husband is my biggest supporter, and I am his biggest supporter. Hands down, we're both very clear about that. And I believe that I'm only where I am, honestly, because of his support. But I had to learn that his support didn't always look like showing up, being present, and rah, rah, rah. His support looks like, you're out working, I'm going to go pick up the baby today, Or his support could look like other things. But when someone is a complete antagonist, I really have to question that relationship to the core, because I ask people, first of all, I've heard I've heard kind of things that would align with this question. And I've asked people before, first of all, let me put it on you. Have you been completely clear about the vision that you have? Or have you been completely clear about what it is you're going after, where you see yourself? Because sometimes people just can't get behind what they don't understand. And as much as God gave you the vision and it's not for everyone else to get, when you live with a person or when you are in a relationship with a person and you need their support, they're going to have to kind of get some of it. But where we fail is just wanting them to trust. And sometimes if we've already had other little hiccups or failures, it's hard to do that. It would be hard maybe for you to do that if this was the other way around. So first of all, is there clarity? Have you been really clear about how you need support, what you need support in, what the vision is? Once there's clarity and you've articulated, this is what I need, this is what I would like, this is what I want, and the person just still is condescending, is talking down to you, to me that's abuse. That becomes abuse. Someone who's just trying to keep you down, maybe because they lack clarity around what they want to do. Sometimes it's not even about you, because hurt people hurt people. And when folks don't have a vision for their life, sometimes their only mission is to make your vision a living hell. And so if that's the case, you got to question the authenticity of that total relationship. Because I had to teach my husband, and he's had to teach me how to support. We've had to teach each other what support we want. Because sometimes the support that people give, you're not feeling that. I learned from Bishop Ulmer, who was my pastor at Faithful Central Bible Church back in the day in Inglewood, California. He said, people should treat you how you want to be treated, not how they feel like treating you. And people should support you, not people, I can't say all people, because, we'd be like, why you didn't listen to my podcast? Why you didn't buy my book? Why you didn't come? Sometimes your close friends and family, they probably may not be the people who actually help you pop off. Let's just be clear about that. But if you're in a relationship with someone and you explained your vision to them and articulated what type of support you need, then I do feel like there's a deeper conversation there if they can't make that happen, if they can't even stretch themselves and they're not willing to do that for you. And if it gets bad, go to counseling, because sometimes you just can't hear each other. You're not wrong. No one's wrong. It's, you have your way, I have my way, and we need to figure out our way. And that happens a lot for us in counseling.
Wow. That's good. That's good. And on another note, and oftentimes we don't want to go there, but you might have to sometimes, and I say this because I've had to tell some clients this, you might have to sit down and just come to the realization that that person might not have the capacity for you. And it's a question of, do I want to wait till they measure up, or do I want to drag them along, or just leave them where they are and move on with my life?
Let me tell you this. I believe, like you said, I believe in protecting your peace and protecting the energy in your space. And I will not drag along. I will not drag people along. I will, like I said, I feel the onus is on me to articulate and communicate what I need, where I am, what the vision is, how I need support. But I will not force someone to support me. I will not force someone to talk to me how I want to be talked to or treat me how I want to be treated. Like, at some point, again, they have to be willing to do that because they love you, because it ain't always about you. I'm not very domestic, but I know that my husband likes the house to smell a certain way. He loves the scent of Fabuloso. That clean stuff. And so I learned years ago, I'm probably like 5 years into our marriage, look, I didn't fully clean up, but I'll have some of that burning on the stove a little bit, give you that sit. I'm willing to compromise, because this is not about you having to force me to do something. If I know what you like, if I know what you love within my means, you're going to see me make efforts to do that. And even sometimes getting out of my own comfort zone, you're gonna see me make efforts to do that, because I honor the relationship as a whole. But what I'm not going to do is drag someone along. I'm not going to do that personally, and I'm not going to do it professionally. When people don't want to treat you the way you know you deserve to be treated, and you've articulated it, at some point you have to say enough is enough, and this just may not be a good fit right now. And, that is what it is. I've had to release people, especially in working relationships, who could not honor the energy that I wanted to have in my space. Love you to pieces. Your energy is bad. You can't come in here. Love you from a distance, because this is what I create. I create in my home office. I shoot my videos downstairs in my formal living room, and a lot of the work that I do, people come to my home to do it with me. And if your energy is bad, or you're just not, I have fired. Yeah. I had to untie myself from relationships where they could do the work. They were talented, but that energy, that spirit, not in my house. I didn't want it. And you got to trust that. Don't try to make excuses for it. Don't all this, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Why? Why do we do that? Why are we willing to suffer? Do ourselves a disservice to honor someone else who's not honoring us? No.
That's good. That's good. Now, you in your series of teachings for Redefining Wealth, you cover purpose, and I know purpose is a word that we've been hearing for the last few years. But from your perspective, how does one really define their life's purpose?
I really believe, first of all, that your life's purpose is ever evolving, because as much as I've been known as America's Money Maven, and I've loved talking about money and financial stuff, and it's been good, and I've made great money, and I've helped millions of people, and I've got to travel the world doing this thing, even within that, as you keep going, you realize that's not it. That's not enough. And I think sometimes we do ourselves a disservice, even thinking that the purpose has to be one specific thing that we can define to a T, right? Or that it has to equate to a job or a title or a specific career path. But it comes in the doing, Cornell. I didn't even know that the financial thing, I didn't know that Real Money Answers was going to become what it became until I started doing it. And then it became okay, so a part of my purpose is to help move the masses from debt management, and help them with money mastery. And then as I started to talk about things more, I'm like, but I don't like to talk about budgets all day. I'm good at it, but I don't like it. I don't really like to only talk about debt elimination. I don't like to do this. And so as you go through, I think a lot of people stop themselves from starting because they want to know what it all is. Like, what does this entire thing look like? I have to know what it is. I have to be clear about what my specific purpose is. My purpose continues to evolve, but I know when I'm in it, because the energy and the passion that I have, money can't buy. I don't do anything that I do in a disgruntled way. I got to go get on this interview. Oh, man, I'm excited. I'm excited every time I have an opportunity to share what God has put on my heart. And that's how I know I'm in my purpose. I know I'm in my purpose because I'm attracting opportunities left and right. And they weren't always the Steve Harvey opportunities. They weren't always the Dr. Oz opportunities. They were a random blog talk radio show with 16 followers. But I got an opportunity to hone in on my craft and to share my heart and to practice with those 16 followers that person had on their blog talk radio. You know what I'm saying? Like, your purpose will allow you to do things whether the money is there or not. You're energized because you're just being you. It's just oozing out of you. It's spilling out of you. You can't contain it. And as you continue to do it, little things are kind of taken away and then different things are added. But the way is how you feel, because I believe that a lot of knowing when you're in purpose is the fulfillment you feel, is that fullness you feel. A lot of us mismanage money because we have these holes, these gaping holes in our souls, in our heart, in our spirit, where we're trying to fill a void. And so we spend money on cars, on clothes, on purses, on shoes, on things that we don't necessarily need because we're trying to fill a void. And when you're walking in purpose, that purpose is filling that void. That purpose is giving you fulfillment. That purpose has you so pumped up on just being you and being able to authentically be you, that you don't have to do those other things. And so purpose for me is ever evolving. You know, it started out being just wanting to help people with personal finance. Then it went to the debt management piece, like, you know, helping the masses with debt management and going after money mastery. Now it's redefining wealth. It's about helping people live their life's purpose and find fulfillment and earn more without ever chasing money. And I believe that you get to that earning more without ever chasing money piece when you're doing as you're called. And so many of us just ignore the call because we think we're not good enough. We go through the who am I to do that? Who am I? God, I heard you, but you wasn't really talking to me. Because I'm not prepared, or I'm not ready, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. Meanwhile, there are people who have less credibility, less knowledge, less information, but they answered the call and they're making progress. And the void is filled because they are on the path of just walking in their purpose. And we're waiting for perfection. You can't wait for perfection. You can't wait to have all the answers. You just got to go.
That's good. And chasing purpose, because I want to really hone that into our listeners. Chasing purpose does not always mean you're going to get paid. You know, the opportunity to make money may come, but the fulfillment that you get is what you're really, it's the real payoff, you know, because I see so many people that are down on themselves because they're working for a company, or they might be in a good position at a company, but because they really want to do this or do that, so they beat themselves up because they're trying to figure out how to get out of the corporation or get out of corporate America, and that might not necessarily be your path, you know.
You know what's crazy to me, too? When I say chase purpose, not money, every time I talk about purpose, though, people automatically think that means entrepreneurship. And I am baffled by why. First of all, who started to demonize jobs? Like, what is wrong with you getting your paycheck like clockwork, like going to do your job and getting your paycheck? You know, I don't understand why we demonize that. I don't understand why everybody feels like that means entrepreneurship. You can be in your purpose on your job. You can be totally fulfilled on your job. And if you're in a job where it doesn't honor your purpose, then the conversation is to maybe switch jobs, because maybe you're using your gifts in the wrong industry, or maybe you're using your gifts in the wrong organization, or you're using your gifts in the wrong ministry. It doesn't mean that your gifts are not valid. You just might not be using it in the right place with the right people. But you can still be walking in your purpose while you are employed. Everyone is not meant for self-employment. I've been at this a long time, Cornell. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, God, why I can't just go get a job? I have been starting little businesses since I was in third grade. You know, I didn't choose this. This was chosen for me. This literally is just who I am. I literally don't even follow directions well enough to go really work somewhere. I tried, and my husband was like, babe, you are not a great employee. Like, you get the job done, but you question everything because you want to be the boss. But I've always been that way. It's in my DNA. It's who I am. That may not be you. And if it's not you, that's okay. Why can't we celebrate you where you are? You can walk in purpose and have fulfillment on a 9-to-5, in corporate America, in a government position. Stop letting people shame you to death and make you feel bad because you get a consistent paycheck. The reality is most of the people who are out here saying that they're entrepreneurs and they living it up and loving it and all that, they're not probably really making the money that they act like they make, and they wish they had your paycheck. So stop letting them shame you. Can we just say that?
Well said. Because it's something that is, because entrepreneurship is such a fad, a trend right now, but you have to be able to, you have to be able to accept the fact that, okay, I'm not made for this. Because some people, they can't handle, and we know how entrepreneurship is, having weeks go on where you not even make any money, or all the money you do make has to go back into the business because you're trying to get to a certain place, so everybody can't handle that,
Yeah, that's why you have to be passionate about this thing to see it all the way through. You truly have to be passionate about it. This has to be a tug in your spirit. Like, if I was not doing what I was doing, I literally probably couldn't sleep at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is so much a part of me that I cannot deny it. I can't go do something else. I can't turn away. I'm telling you guys, I've tried. I wanted to. At different points in my life, I've wanted to go do something. And, like, no, my spirit was like, nope. That's not for you, right? It's okay that if, on the other hand, you've tried entrepreneurship and it was difficult for you and it didn't speak to you in that way, it's okay to go do something else. You have my permission. Let me give you the validation sometimes that the world won't, because we are so caught up in making everyone feel like they must be an entrepreneur. You can find your purpose on your job, I promise you.
That's it. Now, one last area that I want to touch on when it pertains to your series of Redefining Wealth, and I know that's something that's really real for you, and that's faith. Help our listeners understand how important, and we know as entrepreneurs how, because without faith, there's a lot of stuff that we wouldn't have been able to do, but help them understand how important faith is when you're trying to step out here and just redefine wealth and achieve wealth for yourself.
Faith is so important, and faith has always been just a big part of who I am, Cornell. But I'll be honest, when I first got into this space, especially because I'm talking about money, and so I felt like there was no room for that my faith had to be what I did privately, right? And then my business and my career, publicly, I needed to be politically correct. I didn't need to talk about faith. I didn't need to talk about God. I had to find a different way to tell my stories, because most of my stories have to do with God in some form or fashion. And I'm like, you got to find a different way to do it. And it was so uncomfortable at times that it was almost painful, because it's like betraying who you are, right? Like betraying a big piece of who you are, because it's such a big piece of me. And a couple years ago, I got to this place where, first of all, I know that faith is believing in something greater. And I got to this place where I was just thinking about all the things that I had been through, and knowing that none of those things happened to me. They happened for me to get to where I was, and even today to get to where I am. And a couple of years ago I said, how can I not share that, though? Like, how can I not talk about that openly when I know and believe in my heart of hearts that I'm only here because of my faith? The only reason that I can push through adversities, the only way that I could push through when people lie on me, the only way I can push through when people have cheated me out of things or have just done some awful stuff is because of my faith. The thing that keeps me out of jail is my faith. When people cut up, Cornell, you're like, you know what? I'm going to let God have you. I'm going to let God have you. Like, if it wasn't for my faith, I'd be on the news, and it wouldn't be for no Money Maven stuff. It would be for a whole other situation. And I'm like, you know what? I can't deny that. I can't let people who are asking me to come speak tell me, if you can make sure that you don't say this or make sure you don't say that. Finally, I told one person, that's going to be really hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, because it comes out. Because that's how I normally talk when I'm talking to my friends and family, and I don't have a stage voice. I am who I am. This is exactly how I sound on stage. I don't have like a real professional, hi, I'm Patrice. I don't have any of that. This is it. And this is my conversation. And to tell my story and to tell how I went from scraping up change to becoming America's Money Maven, I have to incorporate my faith. And I said enough is enough, no more. And a couple of years ago when I made that decision, and with Redefining Wealth, when I was very committed to making it a staple of the pillars, because I know that I'm only here because of my faith, when I started to become unapologetic about that, the world opened up. The world opened up because I was being fully present to who I am through and through. And for me, incorporating my faith into my career and being unapologetic about that and not having to compartmentalize anymore, again, fills that hole, fills the void that prevents you from doing certain things that are just unsupportive of the goals, the vision that you say you have for your life. It's been one of the most fulfilling pieces of this work is creating my own lane and saying, yeah, I'm a personal finance expert, and I don't call myself a Christian personal finance expert. You know, I'm not. It's not that I'm limiting the audience to that, but my audience knows I'm unapologetic about my faith, and if that offends you, then you're probably just not a great fit for my audience, and that's okay. God bless you. There's somebody else out there who can speak to you, who needs to speak to you. But in my audience, they accept me for who I am. They accept that faith is a big part of how I believe we attract wealth, because I believe that how do you even know what your purpose is or what you're supposed to be doing or how you should navigate your career path or how you should grow your business if you're not in communication with the person that made you, with the entity or the being that created you. Like, you have to be in alignment with that. You know, you have to talk to that higher source. You have to talk to that higher power. You have to get in alignment. You have to check in. You have to nurture that relationship. The more I nurture that relationship, the more I get the divine download. The more I have the divine connections and interactions and opportunities that I honestly sometimes, Cornell, don't even feel like I deserve. You know, like, I know that I can step into it and rise to the occasion, but I look at some of the email chains that I'm on, and I'm like, I'm the low man on the totem pole. I don't know if they accidentally hit my name and included me in this email, or like I don't know what happened, but I know that my faith has a lot to do with it. It has a lot to do with who I communicate with, how I communicate with people, how I try to stay in integrity, how I show up, you know, at events or at opportunities, how I take care of myself. It all comes back to knowing that this is bigger than me. I believe in something greater. I believe in a higher power, and I believe that I'm here to serve a purpose, and I'm open to receiving those divine downloads so that I can walk in that purpose. And I really feel like when you don't have that, you might have the wealth, you might get the money, but you won't have the peace that should come with it. And I have peace.
Wow. Now you are launching well, you've already launched a podcast. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to listen, but I am, because I saw that you had somebody who I truly admire and love in the industry, Mr. Devon Franklin, on. Was that your inaugural episode with Devon?
Yeah, he's my first interview. Devon Franklin is my first interview. I was actually just helping him host last night his book signing. He did a live signing, a virtual live signing, and I was the host. And first of all, he blessed me by being the first guest on the show, but he's just been blessing me since I saw him speak at USC when I was 18 years old. And he was a speaker. He was a senior. I was a freshman. And he spoke and just, man, it spoke to my spirit, literally gave me this fleeting thought, man, I want to do that one day. I want to get up and speak. And even though we went to school around the same time, you know, Devon was grown. He was already working and doing stuff. He wasn't the guy that was, like, hanging out on campus. So we knew people in common, but we were not really friends or anything. And it wasn't until 2014 when, after I released Real Money Answers for Every Woman the first time around on my own, and I got invited as the youngest alumni to speak at the USC Women's Conference, and spoke at the conference, did my thing, sold out of books. It was a tremendous event for me, and I was leaving USC, headed to the airport, thinking to myself, like, man, God, like, I remember Devon speaking and me saying, man, I want to do that, and I was in that very same space on the same campus, and it was just one of those moments like, wow. And I get to the airport to head back to Atlanta, get on the flight. Who's sitting behind me? Devon Franklin. That day that I spoke at USC Women's Conference, Devon Franklin. And I was like, okay, I don't want to bother you, but I have to tell you this story. And we've been cool ever since. And so, yeah, Devon, to me, embodies redefining wealth so well. Devon man, when you talk about the fitness piece, if you follow him on Instagram, that Devon is all about his fitness. He's always talking while he's doing his workout. He's also sharing the word. You think about the people space and protecting your energy. I've been in his office a couple times now. The energy in that space is amazing. His faith is all over that place. It's unapologetic just by the things that he has on the wall and the artifacts. You see his face shine through and through that office. The people that he's hired, that he's in relationship with, you look at the movies that he's worked on. He is such an embodiment of redefining wealth. And to have him as my first major interview, it's such a blessing. He'll be on the podcast. It's released actually tomorrow, and it comes out, mid-September for those who heard this later. And I actually have a video series with him, too, on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So you can look for Patrice Washington on YouTube. And I got to go to his office and interview him, and just embodies it through and through. Just such a great example. And actually he has a new book, too, The Hollywood Commandments. And as we were talking, he's like, you really embody the Hollywood Commandments. When you look at his book and the principles for redefining wealth, that's how you know. We hadn't talked about any of this, right, until a couple of weeks ago, and we're looking at it. We're each looking at each other's stuff like, wait a minute. Like, wow, look at the synergy here. And that's how you know that it's real, because so many of the same principles, no matter what you call them or how you choose to label them or define them, are the same. Are you creating relationships that matter? Are you honoring the vessel that God gave you to create this vision? Do you believe in something greater, that there's bigger purpose for you? Are you putting yourself in position to attract the opportunities that God wants you to have? But sometimes he can't give it to you because you haven't exercised the discipline to be able to walk into it. It ain't that he don't have it. It's ready, but are you doing your part? And we talked about the fact that God knows what you're waiting on when he sees what you're working on. But a lot of us, again, caught up in perfection and waiting to have all the answers, we don't take a step forward and we don't do anything. And he can't bless nothing. You got to give him something to bless. You got to put something out there. And so, Devon is amazing. And I'm really excited about the Redefining Wealth podcast because it gives me an opportunity, Cornell, to take that 3 to 4 minute segment that I've been doing for 3.5 years on the Steve Harvey Morning Show and have my own platform to just go deeper, to share all the stuff that I want to share that you can't say in sound bites on the radio. You have a few sound bites to get it in, but I want to talk. You see, I like to talk. I want to talk.
I love it. Now, as far as the podcast is concerned, once it launches, just help our listeners find it, or, how often will they be able to get a new episode? Do you have that mapped out?
Yeah, new episodes drop every Thursday. You can go there now, actually, on iHeart. I've been in partnership with iHeart, but you can also listen on Spreaker, on iTunes, of course. Please review on iTunes for sure. But we have new episodes dropping every Thursday. I have tons of great guests lined up, people who just really embody redefining wealth. Because I don't want you to think that, it's just me telling stories over and over again. No. I want you to see real-life examples of how people have incorporated these pillars and how they have achieved the success, the lasting success. So I'm really committed to looking at people, too, Cornell, not folks who just popped up on Instagram and became successful and then we didn't hear from them after a year or so. I want to show examples of lasting success. We see enough examples of one-hit wonders and fly-by-night type of folks who were not really committed or to a process or not truly disciplined, and they up and came and left. When you gotta subscribe, because when you see this list of people who are going to be coming out every other week, the podcast is every Thursday, so some weeks I'll do it on my own, and then every other week we'll have a great interview. But it's good. I'm excited. We've got great reviews going so far.
I already know, because I know you, and I know you. When you put your power and your belief behind something, it's going to happen. So I'm excited. And first of all, welcome to the podcasting world. You're going to be so great at it. But I don't want to keep you, because we can go on and on. But I thank you for joining me.
I love it. You make it so easy, and you're always so prepared. And can I just say this for your audience? It's not often that you find people who have podcasts or radio shows, for that matter, or platforms that take the time to prepare for the interview. You always send such thoughtful questions. You're always aware of what's going on. And I can't say that about everyone. You won't hear me stop to say this about every single person. But it makes a difference. It makes a difference. So anytime you want me to come on, I'm here because you are always so prepared and on top of it. And I love talking to you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Well, we will have you back, and until then, I thank you again for joining me, and thank you all for listening. This has been the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit cornelljermaine.com.